Hello everyone. If I say the AK-47 is the most dangerous weapon on the planet, many of you would laugh and call me foolish. But let's look at whether that's ridiculous or not. First, let's learn about the AK-47, an extremely common gun that seems unremarkable. But it is actually very special. Cao Choyan Kua AK-47 Bat Do Voi Noi Dao Ra No, Mikhail Kalashnikov. He was a poor man, born in 1919 to a large peasant family in a small village. When Kalashnikov turned 13, he went to work at a tractor plant as a mechanic apprentice, starting with menial tasks. By age 20, World War II broke out and Kalashnikov joined the Soviet Red Army as a tank mechanic. In 1941, Kalashnikov was injured in battle and hospitalized. During this time, he heard many complaints about the limitations of the Red Army's guns. Some models shot fast but not far, while others shot very far and precisely but fired slowly. Many guns often jammed in cold, wet or muddy environments, becoming ineffective. And that inspired Kalashnikov to develop a gun that could combine all those factors, and thus the AK-47 was born. That's the story that anyone researching the AK-47 will read. However, some Western commentators believe the above story is just a legend. They don't believe a wounded low-ranking officer with average mechanical skills, no weapons design experience, could invent such an extremely effective gun that many expert engineers at the time also could not make. Setting aside doubts, after many failed versions, in 1947 Kalashnikov officially introduced the AK-47 model, with 47 meaning the year 1947. A stands for Avtomat, meaning automatic, and K is the first letter of Kalashnikov, its developer. When this model debuted, another general overseeing weapons also introduced another gun model, but upon seeing the AK-47's superior effectiveness, that general was won over. Afterwards, Mr. Kalashnikov was also promoted to general. Although the AK-47 was invented after the war ended, its potency still made it quickly dominate the militaries of dozens of countries, especially communist bloc states. When the AK-47 became the Soviet Army's primary assault rifle, it was quickly adopted by other members of the Warsaw Pact alliance. Interestingly, the powerful AK-47 helped the Soviet Union rise on the battlefield and internationally with just 8 moving parts, depending on the model. An AK-47 can be disassembled and reassembled by an 8-year-old Ugandan child in under 1 hour of instruction. The AK-47 is extremely durable. Almost no normal wear and tear can harm it. Drag it through desert sands, drop it in mud bogs, submerge it while crossing rivers, neglect cleaning it for months on end, no problem. The AK-47's openings and mechanism are crude enough to resist whatever grime could instantly jam a lesser weapon. There are reports of AK-47s found buried for months in Vietnam's jungles or left behind on Afghanistan's salt flats, then firing flawlessly with just a swift boot to the cocking lever, knocking off encrusted rust. In Vietnam, the U.S. Army used the M16. However, early M16s were considered a disaster, unlike the AK. The M16 had to be meticulously cleaned, and its bore and chamber were also not chrome-lined like the AKs. So those early M16s quickly corroded. M16s catastrophically jammed in firefights, with 30% to 40% of U.S. rifles failing against North Vietnamese AK-47s. Soviet weapon manufacturing seemed to follow one rule: perfection is the enemy of good enough. The T-34 tank, MiG-15 fighter jet, and AK-47 assault rifle are examples of the need to manufacture good enough weapons rather than waste time on refinements and perfection. Each was designed and produced quickly in great numbers. Similar to the 80-20 rule, you only need 20% of funds to create a gun with 80% effectiveness, rather than spend 80% more to overcome the last 20% of shortcomings. The AK-47 is very inexpensive. There's a common saying that in the third world, functioning AK-47s can be bought for the price of a live chicken, a statement made by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. In reality, the AK-47 price ranges from about $130 to $1,000 for like new models, even higher during periods of high demand. In the US, a fully automatic Chinese-made AK-47 is typically sold for $10,000 on the black market, while semi-automatic versions sell for $400 to $3,500, averaging around $1,500. Despite this, The AK-47 remains the world's most prolific gun, with around 100 million manufactured and used by over 50 armies and many other armed forces. The AK-47 is popular for its reliability, low production cost, ability to operate in harsh conditions, and ease of use. It accounts for 15% of all small arms globally. The AK-47 is the most used gun in conflicts and wars. It is also an icon of governments, movements, and non-state organizations, criminal organizations and the underworld. The AK-47 has many variants and models produced in countries like China, Vietnam, Israel, Finland, Poland, Serbia and the US. Because it is so ubiquitous, used not just by militaries but also criminal groups, the AK-47 has also been used for sinister purposes like robbery, massacres, terrorism, unjust wars, and has taken millions of lives. So we know nuclear bombs are very powerful, but because they are too strong, no one dares use them, they just become symbols. While the AK-47 is only a small weapon, it has been mass-produced on an enormous scale of 100 million units. So the damage it has caused is unimaginable. Therefore, it's understandable to call it the most dangerous weapon.